everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Rocky Top Review, presented by CHI Memorial. You're listening on Mix 104.1, on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, and watching on Mix TV at mixtv.tv. Well, coming off their first loss of the season last week to Pitt, the Vols look to bounce back as they play host to their in-state opponent, the Golden Eagles of Tennessee Tech. Tech comes into this game searching for their first win of the year, having lost last week to Furman 26-0. And with that, we welcome you to Week 3 of Rocky Top Review. And Stephen Shelton, what do you make of the Vols' loss to Pittsburgh, which you predicted?
Yeah, I was right. I was right about a lot of things last week, gentlemen.
Yeah, we'll
get to there. Here we go.
Here we go.
Yep, I told you Saturday from Neyland Stadium it was going to be this way, and it is. Listen, just like in the Vols calls this week, you can have a guy that throws darts 100 miles an hour, but if you can't hit the board, it doesn't matter. And that's what you see in Milton. Cox tried to argue with me last week,
wow,
and he was wrong as normal. And so it's just one of those things that Milton can't throw the deep ball. No, I'm sorry, he can throw the deep ball. He just cannot connect with anybody. I mean, there's probably 72,000 in the stadium. He overthrew everyone. I mean, in the whole stadium. And so I thought what we saw, though, in Hendon Hooker, and I think these guys will actually agree with me on this, we saw Hendon Hooker as a guy that could complete the passes, could get out of the pocket, and was able to actually hit the guy downfield. And so I think it's a clear cut this week. You got to start Hooker. If you don't, I think you're going to have a fan base is going to be really, really upset.
Jason Cox. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, Steve, I'm good. I was wrong. I've been wrong once or twice in my life. Last week was one of them. But did you know that Hendon Hooker graded out the exact same as Joe Milton last week? Oh. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
so,
well,
he did.
I know
he
some
did
people
move,
that made really high on the ACT score, too, that's homeless. So that doesn't really mean anything.
He did move the football, but he turned it over twice, and that's a problem. So
he turned it over twice in the first series because he got put in due to an injury. He hit a guy in the helmet with a football. Let's not count that one. And now you're asking a guy to make crazy throws at the end of the game to try to get you put back, which he brought you back, and he throws an interception. So
there was
the 2
5
turnovers
minutes
right
in the
here?
game.
Really? 2 turnovers
there
right
were
here?
5 minutes in that game when he made that interception. Never saw the center fielder. Never saw him. Just threw the ball.
I'm just glad he saw the center of the field because Milton hadn't seen it all year.
Well, here's the thing, though. As bad as Milton was, my gut tells me the coaches are going back to him as soon as they can. And there's going to be some mad people about it because Hooker moved the ball. We scored a bunch of points with Hendon Hooker. So.
And now, Josh Rogers, and before we get into his analysis, he's going to have a new deal every single – if you're listening on the radio, it doesn't make sense. But tell us about this.
If you're watching on Facebook, look, all these college athletes are trying to get these name, image, and likeness deals. And as much as we're doing here, I'm trying to get me a deal. So my NIL deal this week is Buc-ee's, brought to you by the committee to bring Buc-ee's to Cleveland, Tennessee. And, hey, look, there's a Buc-ee's in Calhoun. There's going to be one in Crossville and Sevierville. So why don't we have one in Cleveland, Tennessee? But back to what really matters here today.
I guess Chick-fil-A, it didn't work out last week.
No, they did not.
They didn't call. They didn't call you.
No, I went through the drive-through twice and told them about. I even showed it on video. Tried to even just get a free 10-piece nugget, and it didn't happen. But look, I mean, obviously, let me go on record here and. Shelton, you were right last week, all right? Take the video, take the pictures of that, but Shelton, you were right. Look, Tennessee really needs to figure out what they're going to do on the offense. I mean, this last week was embarrassing. I mean, to watch some of the plays that were made, some of the passes that were made, some of the offensive calls that were made, it was embarrassing. This week, again, Coach Heupel once again closed all practice to the media. They're keeping the media out of practice, and that's something that hasn't really been seen up in Tennessee for a while. And so they're sitting there letting everyone in the state try to figure out what's going on at quarterback. So I don't want to sound the alarms yet, but, this week is an opportunity for them to get back on track. But this season is going to determine whether if Tennessee's a football school or not. I mean, we might be talking about, do we need to start focusing on basketball and baseball?
We have for years.
UT, and
we're pretty good at both of them.
We are. Used to be the Lady Vols.
Now it's men's basketball, and so my thing is that I think Tennessee still has the opportunity to be one of the best in the SEC East. I mean, they have the talent, they have the team, they have the facilities. But something just has to start clicking, whether it's in coaching or whether it's in player personnel or something. So
I can't look at him without looking at that Bucky's cup.
I just sent that to my friend Dale Forrester, who watches and listens.
sign me, please. Please.
But last week, Hooker ends up with 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, to Jason's point. But he completed 72% of his passes, almost 73%. Milton had 189 yards, a touchdown, and completed 51% of his passes. And 51% just doesn't cut it.
And
in
how
SEC.
many were wide open for touchdowns?
Well,
That's
4. We were at 4 in
Yeah.
the first half before he got injured. I said, listen,
That's the
these are 4. And I'm not going to say that when Hyatt dropped the ball in the end zone, that's not on him. You know, his head slammed against the Milton didn't do anything wrong. But the one that really got to the fan base was the one right down the middle of the
Yeah.
seam. I mean, that guy's
He
so
was
wide
open
open.
by 15
Oh my
yards.
gosh! I mean, I think we were the closest ones to guarding him, and so I mean, that we were a long ways away. But I tell you, that's the sort of passes. If Milton, because that one got, I think, to most people, because it wasn't 25 or 30 yards down. I mean, he was like open seam 15 yards down. You just got to hit him, and he's gone.
And he was so open, you could throw a lollipop in there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
It
you
wasn't
didn't
like
have
he
to
had
throw a
rifle
bullet.
it. Yeah,
You
but
couldn't do it.
The memes on social media this week about Milton overthrowing people, it has been absolutely
I've seen him
hilarious.
overthrow the Empire State Building. There's Sears Tower.
They're trying to get him to go overthrow the Taliban over
Yeah.
in Afghanistan. I mean, it is unbelievable.
That's pretty funny. All right. It is, wow, Rocky Top Review Week 3 presented by CHI Memorial. And coming up, we're going to look ahead to today's noon kickoff with Tennessee and Tennessee Tech in Knoxville right here on the radio, Mix 104.1. Also, Talk 101.3, The Buzz. So we'll come right back with more in just a moment. Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. Welcome back, everybody. It's Rocky Top Review, Week 3, presented by CHI Memorial. Don't forget CHI Memorial Convenient Care and the Public Shopping Center, Polo Parkway here in Cleveland. They are open 7 days a week. Well, I'm going to begin this time around with Jason Cox. Jason, Tennessee Tech coming to call today at noon. What do you make of this?
Well, they're 0-2. They're coming in with losses to Samford and Furman, and they were blowout losses. So this is a bad football team. This game's all about Tennessee, what they want to get done, what they can get done. They need to build some depth on the offensive side of the football, on the defensive side of the football, just everywhere they can. They need to take the opportunity and build some depth because Tennessee's not going to offer much resistance. So maybe it's a time to get Hendon Hooker a little bit more in the offense, help him. You know, one of the things that Coach Heupel griped about this week was how slow Hooker ran the offense compared to Milton. He said we got to speed it up. So this is a great opportunity for him to work on getting back to the line of scrimmage faster, getting the snap off quicker. They've got to find a fourth string running back. As deep as that sounds, but last week our third string guy had to carry the ball most of the second half because they just don't have a fourth string guy. So they've got to develop some depth across the way.
Do we see Harrison Bailey this week?
No,
So he's transferring.
probably.
Okay.
Josh Rogers, what do you make of this?
I mean, I don't, it's our job to hype this game up, but how do we really do that? I mean, it's Tennessee Tech. They've been blown out by Samford and Furman. I mean, this week is a week of reckoning for Tennessee. I mean, they have to figure out how to get this offense going. They have to figure out how to get the defense to stop giving up these giant runs and giant throws all over the field. I mean, like you said, Tennessee Tech lost. I mean, they didn't lose. They were blown out by Samford and Furman the last 2 weeks. So my thing is that Tennessee, for this week, I mean, this needs to be a statement game for Tennessee. They need to go out there and put, try to hang 100 on the scoreboard.
You got to hang 50, I think,
You
this
know,
week, or it's a loss.
It is. And the big thing is that up front, the ball's got some positive news this week. Junior defensive end Byron Young is eligible to play this week. Had a terrific spring, and he's going to be a big get for that Tennessee defensive line. This is a week where most teams in the SEC are going to be resting their starters, and Tennessee should not. I mean, Tennessee maybe in the fourth quarter, but Tennessee needs to really figure out their depth, but they really need to figure out how to run this offense. And so for me, next week is the big week for Tennessee. I mean, the next week they play Florida, and not to really look forward to that game too much, but the thing is that, the game, the best case scenario for Tennessee to win next week is to figure out what they're going to do on offense next week.
I think that's true. I think Florida. Two things about Florida, though. Florida does not believe whatsoever that they can lose to Tennessee because they scheduled Alabama this week. And if you're going to play, usually if you're going to play in Alabama, you're not going to play anyone with great resistance the week after. So that's the number one thing. Number two, I think that if you're going to play Florida, the week to play them is after Alabama. Now, I don't think Florida has a chance today against Alabama, but at the end of the day, Tennessee will be coming off of what I would call a rest week, prep week, going into Florida after Florida having to really – Florida cannot think about the Tennessee game until tomorrow. And so they've got to be all in on Alabama. And so you've got a quarterback controversy in Florida right now that wasn't there a couple weeks ago. You've got Dan Mullen's name being tossed around for the USC job. There's just a lot of things going on in Gainesville right now that I think if Tennessee can get it right, can get healthy, like both of you said, then Gainesville is a possibility because athletically, offensively, we can score, which is what we've not been able to do in years past against Florida.
I like you mentioned Byron Young back, and I tell you, there's a lot of great reports out of Byron Young out of Knoxville, but until we see him, we don't know. But I like what it does is it's going to take some pressure off Tyler Barron. Tyler Barron's played pretty well, but there's not been anybody coming off the other edge, so they've been able to double-team Tyler. So I think getting Byron Young back is going to help, not only because we hear great things out of him, but I think it's going to help the other young guy on the other side of Tyler Barron. Some things that I want to see more of, and I think you guys will agree, I want to see more of Jimmy Callaway. Holy cow, that guy has some jets. He turns the jets on. That was fun to watch him last week. I hope Jalen Hyatt's okay. He may have a concussion. He sure did hit his head hard.
If he doesn't have a concussion, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, but if he does get to play, I want to see him use the jugs machine this week a whole lot and catch some balls because he's got the dropsies right now. So I want to see that. And we need to see some better linebacker play. Okay, Theo Jackson's playing great at the star position, but the linebackers just aren't getting it done. So we've got to see some better production out of our linebackers.
I'm going to interrupt a little bit here to talk about, Shelton alluded to it, the opening at USC. Shelton's famous for his hot seat with coaches every year. Normally, it's a lot later in the season. Week 2, Shelton, was that surprising that USC pulled the trigger like that on Clay Helton?
Yeah, I think it was. I'm hearing Eric Bieniemy.
Really?
Bieniemy from Kansas City. Yeah.
Kansas City offensive coordinator. He's a USC guy. That is that he was told he was heard of saying that would be the only college job he would consider. Now I think he still wants to be an NFL coach. So that's
I wanted him for the Falcons.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Another interesting scenario that I was told about this week was Lincoln Riley to Oklahoma, which impacts Tennessee because Oklahoma therefore would maybe come after Heupel to bring him home as the Heisman Trophy winner. So I don't know. It's weird right now for USC not to try to name someone. I guess is a little a little weird this early in the season. You might want to try to grab somebody if they are waiting for a liar like Urban Meyer, a Lincoln Riley.
He said a liar. He did say a liar like Urban Meyer.
If you're going to wait on some of those guys, then you do have to wait a full year. Yeah. But this could have. Lane Kiffin's still not out of the picture.
Well, I don't think so.
I'm sorry. If you think he is, you're crazy. I mean, he can go home again. And as much as he's matured from the last time he was there, but I still think Lane Kiffin, LSU, could really, really happen before it's over with.
I think a couple names to look at is Clemson's offensive coordinator, Tony Elliott, and also Brent Venables from Clemson as well. Those are two names that have been passed around for every coaching job that's become available.
But there's a reason why they haven't got them.
Well, they're the highest paid. Both of those guys are the two highest paid coordinators in the NCAA. I mean, those guys are the secret sauce to Clemson's offense and Clemson's whole team. Someone that I would look at is look for some coaches coming out of the NFL for this job. I think that this is one of those jobs like the Michigan job where it's going to be an NFL style coach that's going to come there. I know he's at Jackson State right now, but a name that I've heard is someone like a Deion Sanders.
Prime time.
Is having prime time come out there to USC.
No matter how they're, we're going to have to take a break here, but no matter how they're doing, USC's still a prestige job. There's no doubt about it. All right, we're going to take a break right now. It's Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3, and Mix TV, mixtv.tv. And we'll be back. It's presented by CHI Memorial in just a moment. With more Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial, and it's time for our picks segment. As we have last couple of years, Shelton been focusing on the SEC, and well, we're going to begin here. And this was actually going to be my new beat.
That's why I put it on there.
You heard about this?
Yes.
Rogers and I were talking the other day, and I used to come out with an Ivy League game, but they canceled the season. They didn't want me.
No more football for Ivy League.
Yeah, no more.
It's over. Yeah.
So I'm picking up UTC. So UTC, and for my friend Damon Floyd, the alum, and many others, will be at Kentucky at Kroger Field. That'll be a noon game today also on ESPN Plus. And let's begin. I tell you what, Rogers, this was your idea. Let's begin with you.
Well, I mean, we always want to show big love for the Mocs. I mean, we're right here in Chattanooga's backyard, but I mean, Kentucky is becoming the real deal of football. I mean, we talked earlier about Tennessee moving to baseball and basketball. I mean, Kentucky's moving from basketball to football. Okay, and so a big jump forward this year in the SEC. So I've got the Cats big against the Mocs today.
It's a great opportunity for our local kids. We've got several Cleveland, Bradley County kids that are on this UTC team. Great opportunity for them to go up there and play in an SEC stadium. They won't put up much resistance to Kentucky, but it'd be a good opportunity for those kids.
Kentucky goes up and gets $250,000 for the trip. I think they'll keep it close early. I think UTC's really good this year. I think they'll keep it close early. Kentucky's way too good, though. Kentucky runs away with this one.
And I will pick the upset. UTC will defeat Kentucky on Saturday at noon. All right, let's get to the SEC schedule now. South Carolina will play at Georgia. You know, Shelton, and I won't steal his thunder here, but Roger's a little worried about this as a Dog fan. That'll be on 7 o'clock tonight, ESPN, but also on 99.1, supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. Shelton, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's the Nobody Cares Bowl, but that's again. I remember when Tennessee was as good as Georgia is now, and we had to worry about these games. I mean, South Carolina's playing their equipment manager at quarterback. My gosh, if this is not a 28-point blowout by Georgia, they should fire Kirby after the game.
Oh, come on, Jason. What do you think?
Well, Zeb Nolan is the equipment manager. He is a transfer from North Dakota State. He sat behind Trey Lance, who's a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. He literally comes to South Carolina to be a graduate assistant. All their quarterbacks go down, and the coach looks at him and says, "Hey, you got another year of eligibility." So if they could upset the Dogs, they're making a movie out of this story. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be a movie made. Dogs roll.
So South Carolina's coming off of two really big wins.
He's going to try to play this up. He is about to try to play this game up. Good.
Get ready for this.
Against Eastern Illinois, an emotional win last week.
Hey, Gideon, cue Chariots of Fire. Let's go ahead and play it.
Carolina, but after a big rest week for Georgia starters last week against UAB,
they get another one this week.
Kirby's going to have those hairy dogs firing all cylinders. So I got Georgia against South Carolina.
It's the prime time game on ABC tonight, and it's also, as you're hearing this, was probably still on the ESPN Game Day stop this week. Auburn goes to Penn State, a 7:30 game at Beaver Stadium tonight on ABC television. Tell you what, Josh, let's begin with you.
Look, I mean, honestly, this is one of the most interesting game of the week. You know, Auburn, Penn State. You know, how does Brian Harsin, Auburn's coach, come out and play against a major program like that? They haven't had any big games this year. I mean, they've played Akron and Alabama State. I think that you're going to see a nice balanced attack from Sean Clifford, Noah Cain from Penn State against the Tigers. And I know we're not supposed to pick against the SEC, but as a Georgia dog, I will never pick Auburn. So let's go State.
What about it, Jason?
We're not supposed to pick against the SEC. It's
Missed
Tennessee,
the memo.
and everybody else loses in my book. Hey, I love this matchup. Listen to these statistics. Auburn comes in scoring 58 points per game in 2 games, cupcake games nonetheless, but 58 points on average. Penn State comes in only giving up 11.5 points per game, which included a game against Wisconsin.
That's right. Yeah.
This is a fantastic matchup. It's a whiteout in Happy Valley. It'll be a fun game to watch. I expect it to be tight late. Penn State wins.
Yeah, Shelton, what do you think?
I hate James Franklin. Listen, this is Auburn's first road game against a Big Ten opponent since the formation of the Southeastern Conference.
What? Man.
Quarterback Bo Nix, he is 12-2 at home. He's thrown 20 touchdowns and 1 interception. Not so fast, my friend.
Here we go. I know.
On the road, Bo Nix is 5-7. He's thrown 13 touchdowns and 12 interceptions.
Wow.
Auburn goes to Happy Valley and gets their wings clipped big time.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you there. I think Penn State wins tonight. All right, Alabama goes to Florida. This is a top 15 matchup. It's the 3:30 CBS game later today. And Shelton, we're going to begin with you here. Alabama at Florida.
There's no other 2 teams I cannot stand. The higher seeded team wins. That's fine.
What about it, Josh?
Look, I don't talk about that team that starts with an F, and so the Crimson Tide will roll all over those Gators. Alabama by 1,000,000 in this game.
Wow. What about it, Jason?
Well, if you talk to a Florida fan this week, they think they've got a chance. And the reason they think they have a chance is a young man by the name of Anthony Richardson. Okay, he's a freshman quarterback, looks to be all-world. He's from their backyard there in Gainesville, Florida. He's slowly taking over the job of Emory Jones. Anthony Richardson has never seen a defense, and probably may never see a defense.
I hope
like
Miss
he's going to
Richardson's
see
not
this
watching.
weekend. Yeah, it's going to get ugly.
He ain't never seen her baby boy Anthony lay on his back and play quarterback.
It's going to be bad. Bryce Young is going to throw touchdowns all over that Florida defense, and Alabama will roll.
All right, and the game that we'll have for you at noon here on Mix 104.1, also Talk 101.3 The Buzz, and on the Mix 104.1 app. Download it for free. Listen on your phone or mobile device at mymix1041.com. Tennessee Tech comes to call in Knoxville today with a noon kickoff. I tell you what, Jason, let's begin with you.
Well, again, as I said in the opening, and this is a game more about Tennessee than it is about what Tennessee Tech brings to the table. Let's build some depth. Let's figure out the quarterback situation. Let's get ourselves into a situation to at least compete in Gainesville next week. Tennessee wins big today.
All right, Josh, what about it?
Look, the best case scenario for this game is that Tennessee, goes out and wins big in the first half to where they can get some backups in, they can rest some of their starters for Florida next week, and I hope that happens, and I hope Tennessee comes out firing. Tennessee's going to win this game, but like you said, this game is not about win or loss. This game is going to be about how does the offense perform together as a unit? How does the defense handle adversity early in this game against Tennessee Tech? How do they come out and play? I mean, Tennessee's going to win this game, but how do they play the rest of the season after?
And Josh, before we get Shelton's back, I'm going to give you one last chance with Buc-ee's.
Look, I'm begging somebody to sign me. Buc-ee's signed me. Chick-fil-A didn't sign me last week. We just want somebody. Apple, that would be great to get signed by. Just somebody sign us to an NIL deal. We do this free of heart, and we promise, me and Cox, we'll throw your name out there a bunch during this thing. So please sign us. We'll drink it from the Buc-ee's cup.
See, that could be you, Buc-ee's.
Anything less than 48 today, it's a loss for Tennessee. They have to start Hooker. Starting Milton is a loss for Tennessee, and they have to have less injuries this week going into next week than points given up. That's the 3 keys of this game.
That is the 3rd edition of Rocky Top Review in the books. It's presented by CHI Memorial, getting you set to go to the kickoff call-in show with the Ball Network. Bob Kessling is next on the radio. Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3. Have a great football Saturday, everybody.